Well, good morning. Let some others come in. Certainly a privilege to be with you this morning. I appreciate meeting Rodney there at PTP and him talking to the elders and allowing me to be here. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful privilege to be able to come before different congregations of the Lord's Church to do this kind of work. And I really feel like I get to see the best in congregations when I do. I think the visiting preacher always kind of has it made. You know, they always get to see the best in the brethren. But what a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. So thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me start with a question. What are you doing to reach the lost? Now, I know this congregation might be involved in certain mission works and certain evangelistic efforts, but what are you doing individually to reach lost souls? If you're like me, you'd probably like to be doing a lot better. I think if I were to just go around the room and ask, how many of us do want to be more active in evangelism? How many of us do want to be more active in talking to our friends and our neighbors and our coworkers about the gospel? We'd all have our hands raised, wouldn't we? Because we want to be more active in reaching the lost. You may not realize it, but you are some of the most powerful and blessed people in the entire world. You are powerful because you have the greatest resources, the greatest physical blessings that kings of the past could have wished for. You're powerful because you have the greatest access to the Word of God that anyone has ever had in the history of the world. And that gives us a responsibility to go and to do whatever we can to change people's lives for eternity by teaching them the truth. Jesus said in Mark 16, verse 15, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." What's the problem with that? There are a lot of creatures out there, aren't there? I think Billy Bland said that one time. A lot of creatures. There are 7.5 billion people in the world today. That number is growing by 80 million souls every single year. That's another United States every 4 years, to put that into perspective. That's a lot of people. Here's the question. Are we growing at that same rate? Are we growing by 220,000 souls entering the church every single day? I don't think we are. Some places in the world it does maybe seem like it is, and I hear you guys have baptized a number of folks here in just this last year or so. And what an amazing, awesome accomplishment that is. And pray for those souls to continue growing and pray for you to keep doing whatever it is that you're doing. But I still don't think the church is growing and keeping up at that 220,000 people entering the church every single day. And so that means there are less and less Christians trying to reach more and more people with the truth. So what are we going to do about it? We've got to get creative. We've got to use every available tool in our toolbox. We've got to use every available resource and every available avenue, turning over every single rock. And so the purpose of me being here today is to hopefully get you excited about evangelism again and get you to thinking creatively when it comes to trying to find new ways and any possible way, because somebody might be reached in a different way than somebody else. And so what new ways can we think of to try to reach somebody with the truth? Well, the purpose of World Video Bible School has always been to provide sound Bible study material as inexpensively as possible to reach as many souls as possible. And you'll find, as we go through this presentation, you'll see, by the way, what time do I need to quit?
You'll ring a 5-minute bell. What time do they ring it?
22 and then quarter to.
Thank you. All right. You'll see as we go through the presentation that we have a lot of our material online for free already. And that's the point. We want it to go out free. And if we had a gazillion dollars in the bank, we'd put it all online for free. But the point is, we're trying to get us material out as inexpensively as possible to reach as many souls as possible. So let's begin. Searching for Truth. How many of you are familiar with this DVD? I know a lot of you probably are. I think, one of them out there in your foyer. And by the way, I'm sorry, I was supposed to have a whole table full of free material for you. It must still be in transit or lost somewhere or something. If it comes back to us, I'll send it back to you and you guys can have it. But it's a box full of free material, so please forgive me for that and be looking for that in the mail. But I apologize for it not being here today. If you're not familiar with Searching for Truth, maybe you are seasoned enough to remember the Jewel Miller film strips of the past? Many of you probably from those are still good material. But Searching for Truth was designed with the same idea in mind, to teach somebody everything they need to know to become a Christian, just using today's technology and today's resources. It's estimated that about 10 million people have viewed this program right here, Searching for Truth, and we receive reports of conversions all the time of those who have used this and those who have been converted, and we'll talk about some of those here in just a little bit. But that's the point. It's just a DVD, you can get it in DVD format, that is, that you can hand to somebody. We've got to use it, though. I don't know how many preachers and elders, when I've come and given these presentations, have said, I think we have a box of your material sitting in our library. Now, what good does that do? It doesn't do any good if it's sitting on the shelf. Friends, we've got to get to work. We've got to use the material at our disposal, and all you have to do is hand a DVD out. That's all you have to do. All right, how about this one? What must I do to be saved? Is there a more important question we could ever ask? I think I saw one of those out there too. There are a lot of lost souls drowning spiritually, as our illustration shows here. A lot of lost souls drowning spiritually. When somebody is physically drowning, you may not realize it, but it's not like what you see on the movies. They don't flail their arms and yell and scream and yell for help. Oftentimes, that's not the way it works. Oftentimes, they're very silent, and they're calm, and they don't tell you that they're in any kind of danger. And friends, that's the exact same way it is with somebody who is drowning spiritually. They're not going to tell you they need help. They're not going to walk up to you on the street and say, hey, I'm lost, I need your help. That's not the way it usually works. We've got to go find them. We've got to reach out to them. We've got to turn over every single rock we possibly can, because there are lost souls who are searching, and we've got to find those people. And we have the only life raft. We have the only good news that can save them, the truth. And so this is just a DVD to help you do that. If you don't have any other method that you're using, use this. Pass out a DVD to somebody. What must I do to be saved? A simple 30-minute lesson that will teach somebody that. Here's a quote. Here's a quote we received from Malawi. We would like to inform that at the last year, our activities were done well. While 442 souls were baptized, 243 were restored, one new church started. Therefore, all things were done well because of your WVBS support. That's anybody using these materials. These people that's 685 souls that wouldn't be saved if it weren't for those who use this material. And basically those who get to work. And that's what it's all about. As Christians, we are to be working in the kingdom. We are to be spreading the good news. And so I hope you're thinking about how you might use these in your own evangelistic efforts. Why are there so many churches? That's a pretty good question too. Oh, by the way, I better send around these things. I'll go on each side. If you would like to sign up for the newsletter, feel free to. I found this to be the best way. Usually I have it out there on the table, but don't feel any pressure. But do remember this. I've been doing this for 2 years, and nobody's ever stolen my pen. So, no pressure. If you want to be known as that church who stole my pen, go ahead. Why are there so many churches? Ben Stein said one time, questions not answered well will not go away. I think that's pretty good. If we don't answer this question well, it's not going to go away. It's probably not going to go away anyways. But we need to answer it the right way. We need to know that the true church of Christ, or the true church of Jesus Christ, truly does exist. There's an estimated, as Don Blackwell says in this program, an estimated 38,000 different denominations in the world today. 38,000. That's an amazing number. 38,000 different churches. Can they all be right? Does the true church of Jesus Christ exist? We know it does. And so this 38-minute lesson very, very simply shows, it's a very, very good program if you've seen it, shows how there became so many different branches or denominations and divisions from the true church that Jesus started on the day of Pentecost there. There's a story from Zimbabwe of a preacher who got on a bus one time, and he just happened to have a DVD player, and so he asked if he could play this DVD. Why are there so many churches? And to make a long story short, 22 people were baptized and 2 congregations were started, all because a guy played a DVD on a bus. Friends, the material works. Because the gospel works. The gospel is just as powerful today as it ever has been. And it still works. We've just got to find ways to get it in front of people. Because there are people searching. Here's one of our newer programs, God's Plan for Saving Man. This is talks about God's plan for faith, God's plan for repentance, God's plan for baptism. Talks about grace and all of that. And a really good new program, sort of a different, not a different truth, but a different way to look at it from the Searching for Truth program. So just another alternative to use. How about Returning to Truth? I saw you had some of those out there too. We all have people. Every congregation has people who should be here. People we know should be here. People who've fallen away from the Lord's church, and we want them back. We love them. We love their soul. We want them to come back. And sometimes it's just, how do I talk to them about it? And maybe here is a very non-intrusive way to say, hey, we've missed you. We love you. Please come back. I don't know how many times people have told me as a preacher, they say, you know, Brian, I would have come back sooner, but I just feel like people will look down on me. I just feel guilty for not being there, and when I come back, I'm just going to be embarrassed. And that's not true at all. We know that. We love them. We want them to come back. And so here's an easy way to just watch it with them, go hand it to them, send it to them in the mail, something easy like that. Here's another quote from the Nandangama Church of Christ in India. With your partnership, prayers, and encouragement, our God continues to open doors beyond human imagination for the church here. Through all of these factors, the number of converts has reached to 1,000. Friends, it's an amazing thing to be a part of, but this material works, and it's not just in foreign countries where this works. It works here too. We've just got to get to work. I think some of them are just working a little bit harder than we are. I heard it said one time, evangelism is not something we do once in a while. Evangelism is something we do all day, every day. And that has to be our mindset. That's got to be in our mind. We have got to think, this person I'm talking to, do they need the truth? How can I reach them? What can I do to reach them? Can I give them a DVD? Would they watch that DVD? How else could I pray for them? And so we need to be thinking about that. It's not a church program. It's something we do all day, every day, individually, thinking about the people in our circle of influence who we can teach. We also have some teaching DVDs. Where Do We Go When We Die? This is by far our most popular program right now. Don Blackwell here discusses the truth about heaven, the truth about hell, the truth about where do we go when we die. Also, it includes what must I do to be saved in this program as well. I want you to imagine something with me. I want you to imagine 3,000 people lined up at your door every single day to ask Rodney this question: where do I go when I die? That would be an amazing amount of people, wouldn't it? The reason I say 3,000 people is because every single day this program gets 3,000 views online. Every single day. 3,000 people are asking this question, or at least this question is asked 3,000 times. That's an amazing number of people who are interested in spiritual things. A lot of people just say, well, nobody's interested in spiritual things anymore. Yes, they are. And there's proof right there. Where do I go when I die? What a great program. What a great program here. As a matter of fact, there was a lady who almost died in a car accident, and when she was in the recovery room, she began thinking, well, I wonder what would have happened to me if I would have died. And so she began searching. She began asking her friends and family, and they didn't have good answers for her, so she began to look online. And so she found this program, Where Do We Go When We Die? And after watching it, she said, that's it. Now I know what would have happened to me. Unfortunately, it meant what? She would have been lost. And so she began searching some more, and she found our program, Why Are There So Many Churches? And she, after watching that at 3 o'clock in the morning, said, that's the church I need to become a part of. And so she called our offices at 8 o'clock that morning, and we put her in contact with a church in Georgia where she's from. But friends, the gospel is amazing. The gospel is powerful. Here's just one way to show the people who are searching the gospel. Another popular one by Don Blackwell, The Truth About Moral Issues. Anybody think we have a problem with moral issues in this country? We have a serious problem with moral issues, do we not? On every advertisement, on every billboard, on every commercial, on every TV show, on everything we see just about, one of these things is going on, if not a number of other things that go on in the world today. And so we've got to teach our family about this. We've got to teach our children about these things. We have to know about these things and what the Bible says about these moral issues so we can be prepared to face the world and know what to stay away from. Dave Miller has done a lot of work with us. One of his programs that he's done is Islam, the Quran, and Christianity. Islam is, there's just no question, it's becoming one of the more influential religions in the world today. And according to a Pew study in 2015, approximately 24% of the world is Muslim. That's 1.8 billion Muslims in the world today. You may not realize it, but not every Muslim wants to kill us. Not every Muslim wants to blow us up. But every single one of them is a lost soul that needs saved. Just like every single one of us before we were Christians was a lost soul that needed saved, so do they. And so this program will teach you a little bit more about where they're coming from, and maybe we'll be able to refute them a little bit better and to reach those lost souls because they need the truth. They need the truth. Let's quit being afraid of them and start teaching them the gospel. One man by the name of Amaimar Ali, he had a Muslim background. He wrote to us from Morocco. He said, "I've not seen such a deep biblical studies as yours. Wow, I'm so eager to discover more truths in the Bible. It's really amazing. May God bless you richly." Can you imagine if we could just reach more of that Muslim population? We could change the world, couldn't we? Change the world. All right. Christ-centered home. This is one of our newer, well, maybe it's not newer anymore. I was saying that for a while. Now it's a couple years old, I suppose. But it is a great program. Mike Vestal talks about a Christ-centered marriage and a Christ-centered family. Friends, the devil's trying to get a foothold in your family. He's trying to get a foothold in your marriage. If you give him an inch, he will blow that door wide open. The devil absolutely hates us, and he wants to ruin our lives. Mike Vestal here talks about what a Christ-centered home looks like so we can keep it grounded in Christ, a great program. Satan knows what we know. He knows that family is the very fabric of our faith and very fabric of our society, and he wants to get in there. But let's keep a Christ-centered mindset in our homes. Noah's Ark. How big was Noah's Ark? Did it really exist? How could all the animals really fit on Noah's Ark? I mean, these are good questions people have, right? And so Branyan May went over to the Netherlands. That was before they had the replica in Kentucky. Went over to the Netherlands to film this program. And he answers these questions. And I think this is a good transition lesson. And what I mean by that is maybe you have people who don't necessarily want to learn about your church just quite yet, right? They don't want to learn about the church you attend. But they would study something like, I mean, it's kind of a neutral topic here, Noah's Ark. Everybody is kind of, even non-religious people are kind of interested in that. And so you study Noah's Ark. Well, what's the message at the end? The message is you've got to get into God's safe place. You've got to get into the ark. And what's the message today? You've got to get into God's safe place. You've got to get into the church. And so maybe a good transition lesson if you have somebody on the edge like that who doesn't want to study about your church yet or about the Lord's church. Again, I hope you're thinking about how you might use some of these lessons. We're going to now talk about some of the ways that people have used these materials. And if you have different ideas and you've used the materials or something else in some other way, let me know. I'll add it to the presentation and maybe it will help somebody to reach some other people. But how can these be used? First of all, display them in the foyer. I already see you have them out there. That's great. You might be surprised about how many preachers and elders and, of course, members who are not familiar with the resources available to them, or if they're or they are familiar with it, but they just don't know. Is that a sound resource? Is that a good resource to give to somebody? I don't know if it's the truth being preached or not, but here you can know it is the truth. It is the gospel, and it is a good resource to have. Well, before we get to this one, do you have shut-ins in this congregation? Do you have people who can't be here physically but could be here mentally? I think most congregations have those too. Now, how long does it take your faith to fail a little bit or whatever when you don't have good sound Bible study or good deep Bible study? Now here's a way to get that to the people who can't come, but they could have a good, deep Bible study using just a DVD. Or we have it on Roku now, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of those things. But if they have a Roku, which if they're shut in, I suppose maybe they don't know what a Roku is yet. But anyways, but another good way. Whoops, I went too far. All right. How about displaying them in a business? If you run a business, if you own a business, if you work at a place that has a lobby or a waiting room, here's a good place to display good material if you're allowed to. In fact, I put some of our cards, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, in the Gideon Bible in the hotel. Every hotel I go to, put it there, and in the phone book that's in there. And I just did that this morning at the hotel where I'm staying now. And but just anywhere, you leave it for the waitress. I do that all the time. You leave it for the car. Well, we'll talk about some of the cards here in a minute, but we'll talk about, and I'll go into some of that. But here a guy even used realtor display boxes, and he asked to put those around town. And so that's just one more way to get the material in front of people, and that's the point. So community events, county fairs, trade shows, something like that, have a table. Just set it out there, and if you do, you might be surprised. Do you have a Walmart in this town? You do? What's that? Marshfield. Okay. And yeah, Marshfield. You might be surprised, most Walmarts will allow you to set out a table, just like they'll allow the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts to sell whatever they're selling. But so you can set out a table, and if you do that, here's my recommendation. Put 3 words on a big sign that says free religious DVDs. Those 3 words. Why? Free. People like free stuff. If I had my free stuff here, I know it'd be gone, but I don't. So religious. People either know it's religious, or people either are interested in religious stuff or they're not. And so if they're not, they'll walk right by, won't waste your resources. DVDs. It's not just a piece of paper. It has some value. And so free religious DVDs, you'll probably get the best bang for your buck there when it comes to handing those out. And by the way, we've priced these DVDs in a way that you can order a bunch of them, as you've already probably seen. If you order, I think, 20, you get them each for $1. So we don't make money on that. We're just trying to get them so people will hand them out as much as they possibly can. How about door knocking? Is that what door knocking seems to be like anymore? Door knocking does work. It still has a place. And those people who say door knocking doesn't work anymore are usually the people doing nothing. Door knocking has its place. It may not be as effective as it used to be. Is what I would like to call electronic door knocking. If you have a Facebook account, if you have an email account, what I've done in the past is I've sent a friend a Facebook message and just said, hey, do you know where you're going when you die? Would you like to know more? And I'll attach the video into that message. Just one more way to get it in front of people. You just never know who's going to respond. And so just one more way. Maybe choose 7 Facebook friends a week, just one a day, and send them a message. You just never know. Prison Works. One of the prison works that we send material to, David Atnip in Georgia, he baptized 65 men. I guess this is an old figure because I haven't heard the new figure. This was 2 years ago now, 65 men on August 13th of 2016. Now I'll have to hear what he did last year. But he's only allowed to baptize once a year. But I think 65 people in 1 year is pretty good. How about that? How about you? 65 inmates using this material. How about family Bible studies? How would your family benefit if you had a 30-minute Bible study every night? Friends, it would change your families. It would transform your families. You don't even have to study for it. You just put in a DVD or get it on the Roku, as I mentioned, if you have that, or get it online where we have over 800 videos for free. We'll talk about that here in a minute as well. Missionaries have used this material. It's great to take on mission fields. You can see this woman in particular is in Guyana, South America, and she is using some of our posters. We have 7 high-quality posters that are good for classrooms and foyers and places like that, offices. A lot of Bible teaching at a glance in these posters, and good to take on mission trips as well. You can also download those for free in the 8.5 by 11 size. But You may wonder how in the world they get the gospel out there in the bush. Well, how WVBS started was Rudy Kane was on a mission trip, and he was going down a river in one of those dugout canoes, and he looked over, and this was in the mid-'80s, and he looked over and saw a guy watching TV in the middle of a mud hut, and he thought, man, if he can get the gospel, or if he can have TV, I can get him the gospel, and that's what happened. And started with VHS, of course, and now it's to where it is today. But we've got to take advantage of technology, because that's what everyone's doing. Everyone's looking at their phones. Everyone's looking at TVs and things, so we have to take advantage of it. We have a DVD called Evangelizing the World. This will help, and we're going to be revamping that this year, but this will show you some of the ways, some of the things that I'm just telling you today. But it will remind you of some of these things. Also show you some of the more in-depth, some of the ways that you can use some of these resources. We have a fund that if a congregation sends money to WVBS, it goes into a fund that's for the sole purpose of sending out free material to either online, for the online school that we'll talk about, or to free DVDs to brethren in poorer countries. One of those countries is here in Ghana, and I'm looking for my quote here. There it is. And they've been receiving material since February 2014. And here's what they said. By the grace of God, the Lord added to his church 11,246 souls who've been baptized into Christ for the remission of their sins. And we're still going around all parts of Ghana spreading the good news of Christ. Now, I've never heard such numbers as that. But isn't that awesome? We have the greatest product this world has ever known. We have the truth. And we're trying to give it to people. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to get it in front of as many people as we possibly can. I want to tell you some of our course studies that we have. These are longer studies. These are more in-depth studies. A Christian Evidences course. I think in the Lord's Church today, we don't have a problem telling somebody why we are immersed for baptism, why we don't use instrumental music. But when it comes to why we believe the Bible when it says those things, sometimes we draw a blank. Well, how can I prove that from the Bible? And so a Christian Evidences course is a very popular program that we have. Another one, Providence. This is one of our newer programs by Chuck Horner. This is probably one of the least understood topics in the Bible, God's providence. And so he covers the entire spectrum of miraculous and non-miraculous providence. So a great longer course program on that. We have one on angels. Travis Quartermas does this one, and another very misunderstood topic. Do we have guardian angels? What do angels really do today? Do they really exist? Some of those very interesting questions that people do have, and we ought to know the truth about it. Another program I think is good for anybody is creating effective presentations. This would be good for a businessman, a student, a teacher, a Bible class teacher, a preacher. How do you make your presentations more effective? And Michael Haidt does a great job talking about these. He's just really, really easy to follow program. Now here's one that you have to watch. How many have seen this program? Anybody seen this program? Rob Whitaker does an amazing job at this seminar. If you've ever seen him live do this seminar, you will see more passion and zeal than you've ever seen in your life, I think. He does an awesome job, and he's teaching you in personal evangelism, teaching you how to use the Back to the Bible by Bobby Bates little pamphlets, and there are 3 of them. And I can tell you they work because this past week, my dad and his girlfriend obeyed the gospel after we studied with them, and I'd been praying for that for 10 years. They came to visit us in Texas from Indiana, and we studied those, and they obeyed the gospel. And friends, it works, and it's because Rob Whitaker got me onto that. And you've got to watch that program, and you have to use those things. Well, if you have another method, use it. If it's already working, use it. That's fine. But if you don't have a method, you need to get some of these, because they are awesome. And it's just going back to the Bible. We don't realize that the power is in the Word. We don't have to know everything. The power's in the Word. Just go through those. Don't even say a whole lot at all as far as additional information. You just go to the Scripture and study it and go and they fill in the blank as they're going along. But anyway, Rob Whitaker does a great job in this personal evangelism seminar program that we have, and he has an actual Bible study in this newer updated version that we have. I don't know which one you saw, but the newer one we have, he does have an actual Bible study that's going on, and you can watch that as well. So a very, very good program there, a proven method that does work. Bible Land Passages, this program talks about the history, the archaeology, the geography of the Bible lands. We sent a group of men to about 30 different locations. We're about to finish the second DVD of it, which will have we will include 5 more passages or lessons. And again, we're so far removed from, I think, the Bible lands, sometimes it's hard for us to picture what it was like back then, but these give a great deal of information. We have a faith-based movie called Bound. This is about a young woman struggling in life, and a family takes her in, shows her there's still hope, teaches her the gospel. We've had over 100 reports of conversions using this program. Of course, it does include the Searching for Truth program in it as well. But you just never know how somebody might need to hear the gospel. It might be through a movie. And it's just one more different way to reach somebody with the truth. And that's the point. Maybe you watch a movie with them. Maybe you just send it to them. Whatever it might be, just one more way. We have women's studies. These are women taught by women, designed specifically for women. And maybe you want to have it for a ladies' day. You don't want to bring a lady in to do that. Maybe you want to have it for a ladies' Bible class. Maybe just for personal study. We have a number of programs. When the box comes, get our catalog so you can see it, or you can get online at wvbs.org is where you can order things, wvbs.org. And again, apologize for not having all that free stuff and catalogs for you, but it'll come. Evangelism Books. How many have heard of Transformed? One. How many have heard of Muscle and a Shovel? A lot more. Yeah, Muscle and a Shovel is a great book. I've used so many of those books. We gave out thousands of them when we were in Indiana. Transformed, a young man, Lance Mosier, he tells his story. Same idea in mind. Tells his story about how he was converted. We've sent out probably at least 10,000 of these books from WVBS. It's a wonderful evangelism tool, probably geared toward younger, maybe 10, 20s, 30, or teens, 20s, 30s, in my opinion. It has used. There was a story of a woman who was blind, and she went and visited her daughter in San Antonio. She had been given this book, and her daughter read this book to her, and she was converted. So it can be for an older generation too, but it's a younger man telling his story, and Lance does a great job with that. Lance is a missionary over in New Zealand. We also have some teaching books. Kyle Butt there is holding the Men in the Making book. If you've got teenagers in this congregation, which it looks like you do, you need to go through this course. You don't want to know what your kids are learning at school. You don't want to know what your kids are learning, what it means to be a man at school. This is for boys. And I went through this with my teenage son, and just a wonderful, wonderful book talking about what God says it is to be a man. And it's a great 13-lesson book, so do it in a quarter. Great book for that. We have some novels. Again, I'm just scratching the surface of some of the things that we have, but please do go online or get our catalog and see what else is available. The Speaker. Here's a political type of novel if you're interested in faith-based fiction. We've got a number of these novels available. This one talks about America's need to free itself politically and morally before it's too late. Teaching posters, we already discussed some of that, so we won't go into that. We have some foreign languages, Swahili, Korean, Mandarin, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Telugu, and American Sign Language. We have some programs in some of these languages. Again, look at our catalog when they come in. But if you're going on a mission trip, I saw Tanzania up there, so we've got some Swahili things, and saw India up there. I don't know what part of India you're going to, but Telugu. Have some available in that as well. So get the catalog to see what can maybe help you with some of those works. Now here's the future, though. Here's really the future, and it's kind of been what we've been talking about anyways. Well, video.wvbs.org has about 850, I guess, of our videos for free on that website. The future's online. I mean, everybody's on their phones. Everyone's constantly looking at those. Everyone's on the computer all the time. According to a study in 2017, almost 4 billion people have access to the internet. And that's an exciting number. Never before have we been able to record a program, put it online, and have access to over half the world. That's wonderful news. That's very exciting. And so this has been the goal of WVBS all along, to get the material out just free, so people can have it, so the world can use it. And so please put this on your church website, put it on your Facebook page, whatever it might be. I did notice you do have some other programs on your church website, so please add WVBS, add this video website, or add some of the videos right into the screen there. We have some business cards, and these were what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Some business cards that you can just hand out that has the QR code on the back of most of them, or it has just the website on the back, and you can hand it to somebody, give it to a waitress. And I know this works, and I know you might think, well, who knows if that's not going to do much good. I was a cashier at a grocery store when I was in college, and somebody gave me a card to pray Jesus into my heart. And I didn't know any better at the time, and so I did it. And I thought, I was spiritually minded enough, I guess, back then to want to get right with God and be right with God. And I know better now. I know, obviously, the truth now. But the point is, you just never know. That's the point. Handing out a card to somebody sounds really easy, and it is. But you just never know. You just never know who it's going to impact and who's going to follow through with that. And so here are cards. We have one for the video website now. We have one for Where Do We Go When We Die. As a matter of fact, we now have a postcard size because congregations were asking for postcard size to send out to the community. And so it's got a place for for that information on there too. So school.wvbs.org. This is our school website. Anybody students in the school? Nope. Okay, we have this school will teach you be just like a preaching school, just like a Bible school. It's just as in-depth, covers every book of the Bible, plus some courses. You can study it on your own time, at your own pace, from your own home, in your pajamas if you want, whatever you want. But the videos are just available online. You click on them and download it, or you just click on it and watch it on your own schedule. The best part about it, it's absolutely free. Absolutely free, and you can sign up as an auditing student where you don't have to take tests, which is what I did, or you can sign up as a formal or informal student where you sort of get certificates or a graduation certificate at the end. Here's the exciting part. In over, 4 years now, started in February of 2014, we have over 12,000 students actively involved in studies. 12,000 students. And maybe the most important or most exciting part of that, well, first of all, 150 new students are added every single week, and 2/3 are not yet Christians. What an amazing evangelistic tool that 8,000 people who are actively involved. We filter out the ones who haven't been active in a year. So 12,000 active students, 8,000 of which are not yet Christians, learning the truth, hearing the truth, and desiring the truth. Desiring it. People are interested, friends. We've got to get out there and teach them. I know my time's about up. Some people have used this. They start their own Bible class, WVBS Bible class, like on a Thursday night or something like that. Adult Bible classes, personal use, whatever you might want to do. We also have some teaching notes that go along with it. I would recommend, if you were to do that, to get the USB thumb drive, because that includes about 18,000 pages of notes and is a whole lot cheaper than buying all the paper copies. And that was on sale. It goes on sale twice a year for half off. It's regular $95 or something. Half off is 40 something. So I'd wait for it to go on sale. But a lot of material there. 18,000 pages of notes that will help you. And with my last minute, I want to tell you, well, I've learned more about Genesis in 3 years than in 14 years as a Baptist minister. So what an amazing testament to that. But anyway, my last thing that I want to tell you, and perhaps the most exciting thing going on at WVBS, and something with the absolute most potential, is the Chinese Bible School. William Chen and his wife, who were missionaries in Taiwan, have moved to Texas, and have begun to translate all of the free online material into Chinese. And to see how wildly successful the English school has been, and to see how successful The Chinese versions of things that we have, like Where Do We Go When We Die, that has been extremely successful and popular. To have a Chinese school. Why is that so exciting? Because 335 million people speak English as their native language, but 1.35 billion people speak Chinese as their native language. The potential for this school is perhaps the greatest evangelistic effort that has ever been, to have the potential to reach this many people with the truth. So what an amazing, amazing thing. It's estimated that by 2025 there will be about 50 billion devices that can access the internet. That's about 6 per person. This is the future. We've got to use technology. We have got to use what we can to reach the lost. And so how can you be a part? Well, pray, give, work. Money's the only thing holding us back. But do get to work. That's the point. That's why I'm here, really, to show you to get to work. And I'm going to talk about that more in the sermon, and I know my time's up. But I want to challenge you before we close to make every single thing you do as you're making plans for the future. Elders, preachers, members, making plans for the future. Make everything you do about evangelism, about reaching the lost. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be available after service is here.